We're looking at two of the most important French hatches of the 90s.
Peugeot's 205. It was the definitive 80s hatch. It was nimble, lightweight, and could be seriously quick.
And this, the Peugeot 306, which showcased the handling that became synonymous with both of these cars.
When Peugeot made the 205, no one could have anticipated the rampant success it would have had. An icon had been born, and it just so happened to be a great handling car too. The world had not seen such agile handling since the original Mini. It was quite an achievement. With a range of small revvy engines and this notchy little gearbox, Peugeot put this car into the history books by making the GTI model. Initially available with a 1.6 engine producing 105 brake horsepower, Peugeot expanded the GTI range to include a 1.9 that produced 130 brake horsepower. Now in a car weighing 900 kilos, that's a great power to weight ratio. Okay, so the Golf GTI was already nabbing sales across Europe, having been released earlier, but it couldn't match the Peugeot. This was lighter, better, and this was designed by Pininfarina. They made Ferraris. The 205 GTI developed a fierce reputation as a wild country road rocket. Over 300,000 GTIs were produced, although I doubt many have seen it through to today. All 205s are built on the same DNA, which makes smaller engine models like this far more rewarding. You can still go into corners pretty fast, but there's no need to worry should you back off mid-corner, causing you frantically to worry where your car's heading. The GTI is still a highly desirable car. Models can fetch a premium of up to £3,000. That's a lot of money by today's standards. But you're buying into a classic. In fact, so much so, you could probably get early models on classic car insurance. It's worth noting.
In the mid-90s, Peugeot discontinued the 205 and needed something to fill in the medium hatch market. That's where the 306 came in. Looking at the side profile of both of these cars, it's clear to see they follow the same design language, as they are both designed by Pininfarina, and they have this clear line down the side of them, a waistline. Now, nowadays Pininfarina doesn't really mean much, they'll just slap it on anything. Hyundai Matrix, Daewoo Tacoma, any Korean with enough money and you can have it on you. The 306 feels a bit more premium than the 205 did. In this model, as it's a late one, I've got 4 airbags and I've got air conditioning. The 306 had the same rear torsion bar setup as you got in the 205. This still meant that you got that great lift-off oversteer that made the handling so fun in both of these cars. Now Peugeot did of course make a GTI version of the 306, known as the GTI 6 because it had a 6-speed gearbox. It was mated to a 2-litre 167 horsepower engine. This meant you could get from 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds. Now at the time, the Golf GTI had a 1.8 turbo engine that only had 150 horsepower, weighed more and had massive turbo lag. Again, Peugeot destroyed the Golf GTI. Now the 306, Peugeot invented something entirely new. Hot diesels. They had a 1.9D turbo and later on the HDI 2-litre turbo diesel models, which had plenty of poke and got over 50 miles per gallon. Other car companies are just catching up with that now.
In 1998, Peugeot replaced the 205 with the 206.
And the 206 heralded a completely different direction for Peugeot. It was still short, but it was taller than the 205 and 306 that preceded it. This gave it a higher centre of gravity, which messed up the handling a bit. It was more of a pretty little city car than a B-road blaster. extra height did affect the handling in the 206 quite adversely. Wallow would be a good way to describe it. It just didn't give you the confidence that the 205 and 306 did when you were throwing it into a corner. This gearbox just doesn't feel right either. It's got no real feel to it, and it snags through the gate every time I change gear. This steering column's exposed, and every time I move this steering wheel, it moves my foot around on the clutch pedal. And when I press the brake pedal, it moves some pole down in the passenger footwell because it's been rerouted from being a left hooker. And the wipers are the wrong way round. Now, Peugeot did make a GTI version of this. They whacked a 2 litre in it out of the 406, but it only had 130 horsepower. That was the same as what the 205 had, but this weighed much more at over 1100 kilos. You fat slag.
Lucky for them then, it sold in record numbers.
Yeah, the 206 did.
They've got a new one now though, the 207 GTI. It's based on the same engine as the Mini Cooper S, so it really should do well. But it just doesn't excite you in the same way the 80s hatches do. It weighs more than a 205 fully loaded with croissants and cheese, which is never good. The 306 really was the end of the era for the French car company. There's no sign of going back either. It's a real shame.
Oh, I got mud all over my car.